Aloha Ukulele Club of Hawai'i. As you can tell, I am very excited about Halloween. We're all dressed up for this one. This is, of course, for our October meeting that we have coming up. Don't forget to wear your costumes because we will have a costume contest and there will be prizes. So for today's lesson, we're going to do sort of an intro into movable chord shapes because one of the songs in our packet, Purple People Leader, is going to actually use them. So the great thing about movable shapes is that you don't necessarily have to transpose on the fly in your head. Your fingers can kind of do the work for you. So let's just walk through 3 chords right now that I have listed. I have a C chord, I have an F chord, and I have a G7. Now, if we were to play these chords like this, they're not really movable. But what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to play my C chord with my pinky, and I'm going to keep my index up here past the nut a little bit so that, and I'm not going to press, it's just going to hang out here. So I've got my C chord because, as Craig likes to say when he teaches this, an alligator has bit and took away your index. You no longer can use it. And then for your F chord, I'm going to use my middle finger and my ring. And then for my G7, I'm going to actually leave my my middle finger. And I'm going to add my ring and my pinky. Now my index doesn't have to stay perfectly flat. It can just hold the G string and have a slight arch to it. Okay. This might feel foreign at first, using the pinky and the ring for this. If you need to kind of practice doing a little calisthenics like this for a little bit to get used to putting these fingers down together in this position, you certainly can, where you have your middle finger here and then you just go back and forth right here. Now let's go back to C. Again, you're not allowed to use your index. It's staying away, and then your F chord, and then your G7. Let's do 4 beats each. C and the F. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. F chord. G7. C. Nice. Now we're going to take this whole shape and we're going to scoot it all up. Boop. 1 set of frets. So I'm actually barring my 1st fret, and my pinky is now on the 4th fret. Here we are. So I have my D, or actually D sharp technically, or sorry, C sharp. Blah, I'm so sorry. C sharp is technically what I'm playing. Then I'm going to play what looks like an F underneath my bar. And then I'm going to play what looks like a G7. But again, you don't have to worry about keeping that barred. You can just arch this finger so it's only holding the G string. And then back to what looks like a C with a bar. Let's try it again. C, what looks like an F, what looks like a G7, and back to what looks like a C. Now, there's something that some of you might have noticed. Where's my thumb? Nowhere near the neck of my instrument. How am I doing that? So what I'm actually doing is I'm using counter pressure. I'm pulling the instrument into my body. This arm is stopping the instrument from flying forward. So I'm pulling in. Sorry, that was a terrible sound. There it is, so that I can then have a nice clean bar sound. Now with this, the 1st fret is the hardest to bar because the strings are pretty taut right there. So if you don't get this right away, don't worry. I'm going to do an exercise and after I finish explaining this to kind of help you with your bar chords. But also notice where my thumb kind of is. It's not behind my index. It's like it's not quite a whole fret up. But when I do put my thumb in the back, it's going to be just like this, where it's pointed up at the headstock and then not directly behind my bar, so that then I can focus on pulling the instrument in to get my sound. And then my G7 looking shape. Nice. And if I move it up one more time, I'm now playing a D chord. But again, I can think of it as a C shape. I'm going to hold what should remind me of an F chord, but it's technically a G. Then in A7, but it reminds me of G7, right? Back to the D. Go ahead and try it again. D, and then G, and then A7, back to D. And I could take it and move 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 it, etc. Right? So it's one of those things where you don't have to worry about if you're singing and you're like, oh, this is too low. Okay, let's try going up a half a step. Oh, that's still too low. Go up another half a step. And then you can play the chord shapes you know and love, but your index is now becoming like a capo, right? So there's always a joke about ukulele players shouldn't use capos, just use your index. I don't have an opinion on it. Use whatever helps you get the job done. But your index can act like a capo so that you can change keys easily, but still think in the shapes and play in the shapes that you already know and love. So just keep that in mind as you move these up. One thing I would recommend too is as you do it, at least say the first chord name. So I would start with C. Move it up C sharp or D flat. Move it up again, now it's D. Move it up again and it's D sharp or E flat. Move it up again and now it's E. Move it up one more time and it's F. So again, that's telling you what key we're in too with this particular one. And also what in this chord, there's two root notes happening. You have a C here and a C here. So in essence, you're also learning where the notes are on your C string and your A string, because you can say C, C sharp, or D flat, and then D, right? Very nice. Now, one thing I did promise was kind of giving you an exercise to help you with your bar chord. This is something Craig teaches that I think is really, really helpful. So just for a moment, hold that 5th fret. Now I want you to hold it so it makes no sound. It sounds yucky like this, okay? So you'll do this and to put pressure till you can get it. And you'll notice you actually don't need that much pressure. Then we're going to actually hold 2 strings, but only play your A string and try to get a clean sound. Start with nothing. There we go. Hold 3 strings. There we go. And then hold 4. And if it's clear here, chances are the whole thing is clear. And remember to pull into your body. Make sure your thumb is not directly behind it, pinching, because you don't want to be pinching your bar because that gets really painful in your hand. You really want to make sure, again, notice how my thumb's kind of here. That's where it's actually at, in the middle of my neck, pointed up at the headstock. And that's how I'm able to get bars even without my thumb, okay, is pulling into my body and then really making sure, and notice how I'm not perfectly straight in the fret. Sometimes I'm at an angle, right, where I'm at a diagonal. It all kind of depends on what chord came before and after as to how I'm going to get there. But this exercise is great for getting you used to feeling that counter pressure and also realizing you don't need as much pressure as you think, okay? Really focus on getting the bottom part of your finger, because your tip is super strong. The tip will always be very strong, but it's this part of the finger where when we squeeze, we tend to curl because it's like we're making a fist. And so that's what tends to happen is we'll squeeze, but our finger will start to arch up. And so we want to try to, by pulling into your body, you're also getting that flesh to really connect with the strings, which will give you a much cleaner bar. Okay. Of course, down here, it's a little more difficult because, again, the string is more tight down here, but with some practice, I know you can do it. And if you look at page 3 of your packet, you'll see that we've got Purple People Eater listed, and you'll notice that the song modulates, meaning it changes keys. So we start off with, well, I saw a thing coming out of the sky, G7's here, and then back to C. Mr. Shaken with the F chord here, and G7 one time, and then the chorus. And then after the chorus, you end up going to C sharp. Well, Well, he came down to earth and he laid in a tree, and that G7 looking chord, and back to what looks like C, and then you've got this chord here, which looks like F, and back to what looks like G7, and then go to the what you think might be C. And then on page 4, we do it again, though I did give you first position chords if you're like, yeah, I'm not playing up here, Sarah. You don't have to. And then we have, what's up, what's your line? What looks like G7, but it's A, and back to the D. Here it is, and then the G that's closed here, and the A7 chord. Right? So you get the idea as you're playing the same shape, but you're just moving it up the neck. So feel free to use that in club, or I gave you, the first position chords to make life easier too. But this is just a great sort of gateway to get you into being able to play chords up the neck. So I hope you have a lot of fun using this and even trying out chord progressions that you've done before. If I was doing a doo-wop progression, which is C, A minor, F, G7, and move it up. Right? I'm going to move it up again. And D. Move it up. Up again. So these movable chord shapes are really handy, and they allow you to move up and down your fretboard and be able to do modulating or changing keys within a song in a fairly easy way where you don't have to think too hard about exactly what you're playing. So have fun with these movable shapes, and I look forward to seeing you October 19th, 2024 at 9 a.m. Hawaii time. And those of you who are joining us online, yes, it will be live streamed, and we look forward to seeing you guys. Don't forget to download your free music, and I'll see you there.